Hello guys, welcome back. Sorry there are no lights on. It is going to be hot today. We're also going to have thunderstorms today. I would get you a video, but long story short, the battery charger doesn't work, or the battery doesn't work, one of the two. So, once we finally get things sorted out, and we get a break in the heat, that'll probably be full. But seriously, someday where it's not as cold, or someday where it's not as hot, or some evening where it's not as hot, we'll try to sort out the recording equipment. But you guys seem to be just fine with stills. If we can't get that battery to work at some point, we'll see if the other camera's charged up yet. If not, then we'll go into what we have left of the stock. We'll come up with something. I could technically take pictures with this thing. We'll see. Anyhow, somebody asked me a really good question. Would the gods be mad at you if you left paganism and you went back to where you came from? And, I don't know where any of you came from, whether you grew up Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or atheist or whatever. But short answer is no, so we can end the video. But the short answer is no. The gods aren't going to be offended because, they want us to be happy. At the end of the day, they want us to be happy. And they want us to feel safe and loved and provided for. And if we're, for whatever reason, not getting that with them, then, by all means, we should go home and we'll always be welcome home, especially if you worked with what people, for lack of a better word, would call God. Um, you'll always be welcome home. I still talk to God, and I don't make it a secret from you guys because I thought that, that would be dishonest and you guys might still be doing it on your own. And then wonder what's wrong with you, because there's this huge pressure in the pagan community that shouldn't be there, that once you come into paganism, you have to drop the old god because the old god's the enemy, and that's not so. They're all gods, it's just one religion wanted to replace all the religions, so they wrote a book about it. Okay, yay, back here. And especially now in 2020, the gods want us to feel safe and happy. If you don't feel safe and happy with a particular god, you're not feeling that god. It's just for whatever reason in your relationship, they haven't given you a reason to feel safe and happy. And some gods, for example, do come with sides of chaos, like Loki. Loki mischief dances in his wake. He likes to play tricks on his people. He likes to interfere with electronics. Sometimes he accidentally breaks things. Sometimes it seems like stuff isn't actually going to break on in your life on your own, no matter who you serve. But sometimes it seems like he goes too far, makes something a toy, breaks it, and then you don't have it. And he does not always replace the things he breaks. Believe me, he owes me 4 damn lamps. So he does not always replace the stuff he breaks. I go, back here. But he doesn't always replace it. So sometimes, he'll say, well, it wasn't me, but he never takes credit. So, anyhow, getting back to topic. Some gods can be really hard to deal with. And sometimes when people get into paganism, you do get a lot of chaos into your life, because what we really should have is figure a place you could go and you could figure out who would be good, for lack of a better term, and I'm not trying to be insulting, starter gods for you. And these gods would be your tutors, and they wouldn't really ask anything of you, and they would just guard you. I had Bastet and Anubis, and they were the very best ones for me because they really didn't have me do anything magical, honestly. They just had me read, and at the time we didn't have the interwebs. I know, it's scary. They just had me read, and I felt magical, and I collected crystals and candles and all the rest, and I had statues, and I mainly was doing visualization, though I didn't know it at the time, and they were just pleased as punch with me, and they kept me there for years in Babyland because I just wasn't ready to move on, and that's okay. It's like everybody goes through that phase of wearing 9 billion pentacles, or collecting crystals, or lighting candles, or burning incense and running around. This was decades before Instagram. And you really don't do much magic at that stage because you're really not focused. Or if you do it, it's something like really, light work. And by light work, I mean it's like some kind of simple tiny spell. You're not hopefully jumping right into ceremonial magic, which I wouldn't recommend for anyone because I can't sit still for 5 minutes. And it's a thing that not everyone takes to. Some people jump in the deep end, they jump in the deep end and they'll try to swim because they read a blog somewhere, probably written by somebody who should be writing fiction novels. And, a lot of these blogs aren't true. No God, no loving God is just going to take a new witch or new pagan and just drop you in the magical deep end. It's not fair. It's not right. You will sink like a stone and get overwhelmed, and you will go back to Christianity or from whence you came faster than the God can blink. So, no God's going to do that to you, though it can be overwhelming when you come in, especially if you come in and you don't have a coven or you don't have a local pagan community. Um, the gods are real. And our gods, unlike other gods, I still talk to God. God's kind of like remote and loving and kind and everything else. Loki can be, unconditional love and adoration. And he can also be like this, and where's my thing? And I'm a little fox, and look at me, I'm a little fox today. And you're just sighing there, counting the days of eternity. And the gods can sometimes be hard to handle. Our gods are real and they come into your life and they want stuff. And even though we're not at the stage where they have all agreed that these running lights are their candles, this is their offering, it can still be hard because they will still decide that there are things you can do for offerings. Like last night, Mammon had me do some housework, and you guys know I have, disabilities, so I clean the sink and I clean the tub and I clean the toilet. And that was an offering because it made the house look nice, and I do little bits of cleaning at a time because I just can't do much with bad knees and whatnot. And it was, hard enough. I went to bed feeling half dead, but it needed done, and I can't afford to have someone come in and do it, so that was the offering. And it can be hard. It can be, a little hard. Usually if Asmodeus wants me to clean, he gives me the power and I do it pretty easy. It wasn't like I was dragging myself or falling into the sink or collapsing into the tub. I actually had the power to do it. It was just afterwards it caught up with my body, yeah. So, it's one of those things where paganism isn't for everyone because the gods have, different needs. And say, God, I grew up in Catholicism. And if you strip the Catholicism away, basically all God wants you to do is be a good person and love him and do the right thing. That's pretty easy to follow. A lot of Christians don't even believe you have to go to church. They just have the Bible. Some don't even have the Bible. Some just have God. And it's a thing where that's easy because all the rules and answers and regulations are in place, and if you don't know an answer, you can keep looking. And now that they're getting more open, most Christians will generally agree that if you can't find a priest to answer you, ask a pastor. If you can't find a pastor, ask a rabbi. If you can't ask a rabbi, ask someone else. So, they have a pretty open society and they have established teachers that have actually gone through, should have gone through training. If they're like a legitimate priest, pastor, or rabbi, they should have went to some kind of college and they should have studied, so they should be disciplined. The problem with paganism is anybody can read one blog, declare themselves a high priestess, and you can be getting really bad advice, so that can be bad too. And people can just straight up make up stories to sell you tchotchkes you really don't need. I can tell you, switching from Loki to Mammon, Mammon isn't going to give you any more wealth if you go out and you buy a solid silver ring or you buy a gambling ring for Asmodeus or you buy all this other stuff. I'm not trying to take food out of the mouth of people that are trying to run a cottage industry, but at the same time, you can't buy their compliance. They're not going to do that unless they would specifically come to you and say, yes, get that thing, then you don't need it. And they're usually not going to ask you for it. Usually humans get the idea. So sometimes we can make it overwhelming for ourselves. But, to turn back to the main point, no, the gods aren't going to care, especially like I said in 2020. We have so much going on, and it seems like something else happens every day. The gods aren't going to care. Not that they're not going to care. They love you and they'll always care about you and they'll always love you. But They're not going to care if you go home and that's where you're comfortable. They might still come to visit if you're comfortable with that, but they want us happy. And paganism isn't for everyone because it's kind of like the Wild West. There's really no rules and you have to figure out what works for you. And I always say there's what works and there's what doesn't. That's really all you have to worry about. The kind of household I have set up, probably no other human in the planet has set up, but it's what works for me. And now that we got rid of someone, it's an extremely peaceful, productive household. And in other news, we might be changing the leadership a little. Loki is still a leader in the house. He's very pleased with himself. But we are thinking of adding Mammon and Asmodeus as well. And they were kind of, you know, offering to do that because if Mammon's in, a place of leadership, he can certainly ride on the purse strings again, which he has to. And, with Asmodeus, he can do things as well because he's one of my teachers as well. So we'll have, Loki will be always the main god here, but we'll have, Asmodeus and Mammon as well. And Mammon last night, he watched me watch the news, and I don't know if it was me reacting to the news and then he reacted to my reaction or what it was, but he made sure I bought groceries. So I am not going back to the Steam sale. He wanted to. We had a talk. He said he wished he could let me go back to the Steam sale and buy everything else I wanted to, but he would rather I have food on the table. And that's what it's like working with them. And somebody said they were surprised that a god of greed would do that to you. Well, demon agreed. And that's how the Christians painted him. If you deal with Asmodeus, he's more the demon of wealth, business management, managing your finances, getting your financial house in order. And he's the one that can give you unexpected good luck, unexpected fortune, but usually that's not going to happen. It's more going to be a thing of if you can't earn money, save money. So, you don't go back to the Steam sale and get those 2 or 3 games you really, really want, even though it would only be this much money. And you go and you get groceries instead. It's not fun, but he will make you adult. He will make you careful with your money. And then you have food on the table and you don't have the video games you wanted. And I know it sounds horrible, but I told him that's humans. We're hunter-gatherers. We are animals. We like to think we're better than the other animals, but we're still a species of animals. So we always have a hunter-gatherer in us and we want more. But he made sure I ordered plenty of groceries. Walmart is limiting the amount of some stuff again that you can order. I thought they had like dropped their chokehold on limits, but they have limits now on stuff. So he actually had me put 2 orders in, and that's just because of the disabilities, I can't always get up and go walk, and especially with COVID being out there, he really doesn't want me out of the house if I don't have to. And so even if I could walk to the top of the hill and they would have it, he said no, he doesn't want me doing it just to save like 2 or 3 cents. He's not that bad with finances. He would rather keep you safe. But again, it's if people find that too hard to work with, and that would be a reason they would leave too. The gods would be fun about that. Mammon doesn't have the lightest hand when he deals with people. He's wonderful and warm and kind and generous in his own way, but he can be very firm and strict. So can Asmodeus. One person said, we all know Asmodeus is the demon of desire, but he will whip your butt for you if he thinks you're getting carried away. They all will. They're all kind of strict, but they love you and they adore you, and they'll move the heaven and earth for you if they can. It's just you have to kind of listen. And God doesn't do that so much. So no, they don't mind if you go home. They might try to hang on, not in a scary way, but in a way of they love you and they want to see why you're not happy. Why do you want to go home? They just got you from home. Why do you want to go home? But if you need to go home, they'll be fine. Paganism doesn't work out for everyone. As long as you leave on good terms, I would say do that. Don't become, just for your own sake, don't become a pagan that leaves, goes back to Christianity, and ends up becoming an embittered YouTuber talking about how horrible the pagan gods are and how you think they're really all demons, which wouldn't be a bad thing, and how they never did anything for you, and all these horrible things happen in your life. Horrible things are happening in everybody's life. It's 2020. So, it is chaotic this year. It is chaotic. Everything is spinning out of control. It would not be the very best time to try to switch religions, but a lot of people are going home because of that. Because we're having a pandemic, because we're having political upheaval, because we're having craziness, and we're having social change at an accelerated pace, so it looks like chaos, and the cops now look like riot police from Raccoon City. It's a very chaotic time, so they understand you needing to go home. So I hope that helped, guys. And you're not betraying them or letting them down, and you're not quitting and you didn't lose. It's just it doesn't work out for everyone. If you can construct your own paganism, and maybe that just takes years, it can work. But until then, the gods will always be there. You can always come back. The door is always open. I know some pagans won't tell you that, but the gods aren't going to get revenge on you. They're not going to be mad on you. They just want you to go home. A lot of pagan parents, and I don't have this experience, raise children that end up with Jesus. And it's who calls you, who makes you feel comfortable and warm. And if they can't consistently do that, if they can only do it for an hour or so, and then you're like all worried and anxiety again, especially if you're getting called to come home, you can go home. It's fine. God has been making sure that every time I put up a video now, there's some kind of live 24/7 church beside my video when I'm watching it playback, and I'm like, really? Thank you so much. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.